you've said in the last several days, several times, that you didn't feel that the president was being aggressive enough about tackling the economic fallout here. Now we're talking about a package that could be around $2 trillion. Is that going to be remotely enough to deal with the fallout we're going to see here?
Well, it's way better than when we talked last week. Hadley, thanks for having me back on. They were talking about $1 trillion last week. They're up to 2. Again, the math that we did at Skybridge, we think they need at least 3.2 trillion to calm things down. It does look like they're going to give the Fed that credit facility that they need. And for your viewers in the fixed income markets, they know that there are U.S. government-backed bonds that are trading at a 30% discount going into tomorrow's brutal opening. And so I am sure that the Treasury, in coordination with the Fed, will come up with a program to buy back those bonds, because it'll be literally like paying off U.S. debt at 70 cents on a dollar. So I think things are technically oversold here. We are in a very steep bear market, so I'm very cautious. But I wouldn't be surprised if the market springs back Monday or Tuesday after some selling.
Walk us specifically what you think this will mean, frankly, because we sit back and we think about, okay, we've got to save the American worker. They're trying to put money in the pockets of everyday Americans. But at the same point, there's so much fear at the corporate level, as you know very well, about what kind of job losses we could potentially see off the back of this, including, when we talk about commercial mortgage market. Where do you see this headed?
So let's just go over the math quickly. We have a $22 trillion economy in the United States that is literally on stop or pause. If you do what the epidemiologists are saying, that's going to take $6 trillion out of the economy. And so in order to replace that, the United States government has to think about what to do with the average worker. Our calculation is about $3,000 per adult, $1,500 per child. In addition to that, Hadley, we're calling for them to do a tax furlough for anybody making under $100,000 a year. That's another $250 billion. And then the last piece, which I think is very, very important, is sort of a grant, gift, or lending program for the nation's businesses. So this would include the barber, but also Boeing. And we could be granting money to the barber and giving Boeing these long-term loans that they may need to restructure the company. And of course, put some strings on it where they can't repurchase shares or issue dividends or lay people off until they've resolved their problems. And so if you just think about it as an accordion, they may not need the full $2 trillion, but they may, and the Congress should give them the rights to have that money. Why this thing is tied up right now is they did not want to give the Republican Party and Secretary Mnuchin a $500 billion blank check. Back in the global financial crisis, it was okay to do that with Hank Paulson because it was limited to the banking sector. The pandemic is causing a pan-economic crisis, and they didn't want to leave an open buffet table for the Republicans. The charge there was that they were going to pay their cronies off. I know that Senator Schumer and Secretary Mnuchin are working through the night tonight. I predict that they will get a deal done. They know how sensitive this is for markets. It may come before the opening, but if it doesn't, my guess is it'll come after tomorrow's close. So I'm optimistic in the short term because of these things.